Close your eyes for a moment and feel the slow rise and fall of your chest, like a tide that answers no clock. Imagine the air around you shifting into something cooler, a gentle contraction. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath find a steady, unhurried rhythm. Tonight, there is nowhere you must go but downward, softly, into the water. This is a journey to the deep sea, relaxing ocean facts for insomnia. A calm, careful descent through layers of light and silence, where small facts will settle into your mind like fine sand, and the atmosphere of the ocean will carry you toward rest. Picture the sea at the surface, warm sunlight pooling and breaking into tiny bright diamonds on the waves, gulls sketching lazy arcs above, the shallow green blue that we know as day. Near the surface is the epipelagic zone, the sunlit skin of the ocean. Here, light is abundant, and life is busy in a gentle, visible way. Phytoplankton, microscopic plants drifting on the current, use sunlight to make food in a process called photosynthesis. Fish dart through shafts of light. Warmth and motion are the language of this place. The sea breathes with the weather, with tides and the daily cycle of light and dark.
The quality of light changes from bright and scattered to deliberate and intimate. Let your breathing match those migrations. Inhale slowly as the animals rise toward the dim light, and exhale as they sink back into the quiet. Imagine tiny bioluminescent dots, like distant lanterns, swinging gently with the current. The image is spare and calm, a soft constellation suspended in blue-black water. It is not loud, it does not demand attention. It is simply there, a gentle communication across the dark. If this quiet helps you drift, a small like helps others find this calm corner of the internet, only if you wish. Continuing downward, notice how the sense of scale changes. Near the surface, the world is defined by weather and wind. Lower, the sea becomes defined by pressure and by the slow, patient movement of water masses. Ocean currents are planetary rhythms, vast rivers beneath the surface that move heat and nutrients around the globe. Thermohaline circulation is a scientific name for part of this. Water moves because of subtle differences in temperature and saltiness, forming a slow, globe-spanning loop that takes centuries to complete. If you imagine the ocean like a very slow heart, thermohaline circulation is one of the long, steady beats. The idea is simple and soothing, hidden flows carrying warmth and life on timescales larger than a single lifetime. In the mesopelagic, many animals wear light like clothing. Lanternfish, for example, are small and abundant, their bellies lined with glowing organs. They drift in dim multiples, their faint lights a soft safety line. These organs are sometimes called photophores. They are biological light factories. The light itself is often blue-green, wavelengths that travel farthest in seawater. Blue travels better in the ocean, and as you descend, the world takes on that color palette, a gradient of deepening blues, until the blue itself fades into velvet darkness. You might imagine the twilight layer as a slow twilight in a place always half asleep. Sounds are muffled, edges are softened, and motion becomes deliberate. Some fish have slender, elongated bodies that move with minimal disturbance. Others keep luminous spots that blink like private signals. None of this is frantic. It is a carefully coordinated living where energy is precious. The creatures conserve, they glide, they make what is needed in delicate measures. Feel how your own movements in a quiet room can echo this economy. A long breath, held briefly at the top, then released like a ripple. Your limbs relax. Your jaw loosens. This slow pattern is like the daily rhythm of the mesopelagic, an ordered breathing of the sea. There are gentle curiosities here. The vampire squid, a small, dark creature with webbed arms, is not a monster, but a mysterious presence adapted to low oxygen and slow motion. Some of the fish wear crests of light on thin stalks. Others have mouths that open wide to filter the faint particles that drift by.
A single luminous flash might mean many things: mating, warning, camouflage, and each flash is small and private, not meant to alarm, but to communicate across distance in an environment where words would be wasted. Deeper still, past about 1,000 meters, the bathypelagic begins. It is often called the midnight zone because sunlight no longer penetrates here. The water is uniformly dark, and life has adjusted to an environment of steady, muted conditions. Bioluminescence becomes more intricate because light, when produced, is noticed across vast empty nights. Marine snow falls from above in an almost poetic procession, tiny flakes and particles that drift slowly through the water column like confetti made of organic matter. Leaves, microscopic organisms, bits of shells, these fragments collect and fall, feeding communities below in a quiet, continuous rain. Imagine the sea as a long night in which everything that can fall does so in a measured, unhurried way. Marine snow is a useful image to hold as you breathe. Picture particles drifting down in layers, the descent taking hours, days, sometimes longer. Their fall is patient. They are a slow gift from the surface to the deep. Sediments on the seafloor become a record of these slow gifts. In those sediments, chemicals are preserved, ancient markers of climate and life that tell a long, slow story to scientists who study them. These layers are like pages in a book, written so gradually that you almost forget the act of writing. In the midnight zone, many animals are small and compact. Energy is at a premium in the absence of sunlight, so metabolism is slow and movement is economical. The shapes here are adapted for conservation. Some species have enormous mouths relative to their bodies, an adaptation that allows them to take advantage of a rare passing meal. The tones of description remain gentle. Rather than thinking of swallowing as violent, imagine it as a careful intake in a place where opportunities are sparse and must be used wisely. Bioluminescence in the midnight zone can be ornate. Some species produce long, trailing streams of light to confuse predators. Others emit sudden flashes to startle and escape. The chemistry behind these lights is usually a reaction between a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. The details are compact and neat. A small chemical exchange creates a soft glow. Let that fact rest in your mind momentarily, like a small lamp you can tuck into a corner and keep there as you move deeper. As we travel, the water tightens. Pressure increases with every meter of depth, but you do not need to notice it in a way that causes alarm. In the ocean, pressure shapes forms gently over generations. Creatures here are built in harmony with that pressure. Their bodies are flexible, filled with fluids and tissues that resist collapse. For you, imagining this does not compress but steadies.
Think of the pressure as a quiet hand, consistent and unhurried, pressing some slow calm into the world. There are textures to the deep sea that are not visible but are felt as patterns. Currents, eddies, and internal waves push layers of water past one another. Thermoclines, sharp changes in temperature with depth, can bend and refract the rare rays of light that penetrate small distances. Refraction near these layers can make shapes shimmer and stretch, softening edges like a watercolor painting left to run. In your mind, allow the edges of worry to blur in the same way. The world becomes less defined, and that uncertainty becomes a soothing absence of demand rather than a threat. Now imagine a soft corridor of water opening ahead, a path where the slow fall of marine snow thickens. Occasionally you pass a larger object, a discarded shell, a piece of driftwood, a cell of glass sponge. Each object carries its own small community of hitchhikers, tiny amphipods clinging to the surface, microscopic bacteria covering an old bone like a moss. These are not dramatic scenes. They're quiet neighborhoods, lives carried along by the patient currents. In these mid-regions, the idea of time changes. While the surface marks time by days and seasons, the deep measures time differently.
in seasons of abundance and scarcity that sometimes drift slowly through decades. The seafloor is a slow archive. Changes happen and then persist. Sediments pile up centimeter by centimeter, a slow accumulation that outweighs human impatience. When you tuck yourself into sleep, your night will pass quickly compared to these long oceanic processes. That can be a comfort. The world contains scales that do not ask anything of you. There is room for a night of rest within a system that watches over much older patterns. You pass by animals that live by patience. Think of isopods, relatives of the common woodlouse, that in deep waters can grow to surprising sizes compared to their shallower cousins. Think of tiny amphipods that travel in dense swarms, a soft flitting cloud of life that drifts like a slow, living dust. These images are strange and splendid, but not alarming. The creatures move with purpose, but without haste. Their world is one of measured choices, where energy conservation is a kind of quiet wisdom. As you sink further, you find yourself in a steadily colder, darker realm. The bathypelagic is characterized by a particular hush. Sounds are low and spread slowly. The distant rumble of ice shelves calving far to the polar north. The faraway clicks of marine mammals are like low brushstrokes on the ocean's soundscape. Some animals produce clicks and pulses. Others use slow, rhythmic motions to communicate. Sound travels differently in water than in air, and in the deep it can carry for many kilometers.
Close your eyes and imagine a low, distant hum. Not alarming, rather like a familiar appliance you learn to ignore, settling into the background of your perception. Here and there appear ghostly shapes that glow for a second and then fade. The bioluminescent patterns can be complex, rhythmic pulses, soft streaks, a sudden halo. Some animals use these lights as camouflage, called counter-illumination, matching the faint glow above so predators below cannot silhouette them. It is an elegant trick, a way to blend into a dim sky by creating light on your belly. The logic is gentle. In the dark, certain lights can be a form of invisibility. Think of this as a soft metaphor for rest, a protective light that hides what needs to sleep from what might disturb it. We have been descending steadily without hurry, and the landscape has grown more abstract. Minerals dissolved and later precipitated in the water formed delicate structures. On the seafloor, the plain stretches vast and flat in places, interrupted by canyon cuts and ridges where the planet's crust meets the sea. These features are formed by processes that are incredibly slow. Tectonic plates drift, mid-ocean ridges push new material up, trenches pull it down. The Earth's skin moves as slowly as the growth of fingernails, but over millions of years the results are monumental. In the context of rest, this slow movement is not a threat. It is a steady, patient background to life's more immediate rhythms. As we approach the lower edge of the bathypelagic, let your thoughts simplify. Words may thin to images, a line of soft light, a faint rain of particles, the hush of deep water. Let go of any tightness you may carry. Imagine the deep sea accepting you without asking for work or effort, a place that holds without opinion. Ahead lies a darker doorway, the beginning of the abyssopelagic. The abyssal waters are colder still. The names shift as we go deeper: epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic, then abyssopelagic, and finally the Haddle realm of trenches. Each name marks a change in light, pressure, and community. The abyss is vast and quiet, often stretching from around 4,000 meters to the deepest trenches. Here, the reign of marine snow continues, and the creatures that inhabit this distance live on patience and particles. The seafloor at these depths, the abyssal plain, is often a long, flat expanse, covered in a thin layer of sediment, the slow book of organic remains and mineral dust. Pause with me for one slow breath. Imagine the sensation of floating above an enormous, almost featureless plain, where a single piece of drift might mark a hill. In that quiet, life persists in ways both astonishing and discreet. Microbial communities work on material that falls to the seafloor, recycling nutrients in tiny, persistent acts. These microbes are the unsung caretakers of the deep, turning detritus into a resource that supports worms, crustaceans, and other creatures. They remind us that even in the most silent places, systems keep the world going with a humility that feels comforting.
So far, we have spoken of light dwindling and of life adjusting to scarcity. We have watched migrations of small animals, trails of bioluminescent lanterns, the patient descent of marine snow, and the slow shaping of geology. We have touched on thermohaline circulation and noticed how the ocean's long movements mirror a kind of planetary breathing. As you listen, your own breath can slow to align with these rhythms. There is no rush. There is a quality of being carried rather than moving that the deep sea generously offers. We are now poised to go deeper, into areas where the pressure and darkness become more absolute, where hydrothermal vents and Haddle trenches will appear as distinct scenes. Ahead, in the black, are places of surprising light, chimneys that build up from the seafloor and glow with chemical warmth, and places of extreme quiet, trenches that hold ancient secrets in their sediments. These are subjects to greet gently. For now, hold the image of the abyssal plain, the slow fall of particles, the faint, purposeful lights of animals that need very little to continue living. As you continue to breathe slowly, let the sea's cadence become yours. The deep ocean teaches a patience that is neither passive nor urgent, a steady, ongoing tending of life on scales that do not hurry. Allow the image of drifting with marine snow, drifting past lanternfish, drifting toward the hush of the abyss to carry you. Move with the water, not against it. There is an ease here, a simple acceptance that the world includes vast places designed for long, quiet processes. We will go deeper still. There are more wonders waiting. The midnight's hidden gardens of tubeworm forests around warm plumes, the intense chemistry of vents where life is sustained by elements rather than light, the great folded trenches where pressure reaches an immensity that is strangely not hostile but integral to the forms that live there. For now, let the thought of those places be a soft curiosity in the back of your mind, a gentle promise of mystery without demand. Rest with the sense that you are small and safe within oceanic scales. The sea holds billions of tiny stories, each patient and precise. You are allowed to be still for a night. Your breath, slow and confident, imitates the ocean's slow motions. Let your scalp, your shoulders, your abdomen relax. Let the quiet enlarge enough to carry your thoughts, not to crush them. There will be time to meet tubeworm chimneys and deep trenches later. For this moment, you are floating in a blue-black corridor that narrows and deepens in the most calming way. Let the water's steady dark soothe you.
As we close this portion of the descent, carry a few simple, soft facts with you. The ocean is layered into distinct zones: epipelagic, where sunlight rules; mesopelagic, a twilight band of migrations and bioluminescent messages; bathopelagic, the midnight zone of slow motion and marine snow; abyssopelagic, where the plains broaden; and Haddle, the deep trenches around 11,000 meters in depth, where the pressure is greatest. Bioluminescence, light made by living things, becomes an important language as sunlight fades. The ocean's long rhythms, like thermohaline circulation, work quietly to move heat and nutrients around the planet. Marine snow carries the surface's life downwards in a constant, calming rain. Below us, the water thickens into a slow, restful darkness. Ahead, the midnight zone will open like a long, inky hallway, and there we will meet creatures adapted to life without sunlight in ever more remarkable shapes. For now, let your breathing slow with these images. Drift a little deeper within your chair or bed. Allow the ocean's patient cadence to lull your thinking into softer patterns. In the next part of our journey, we will pass through the midnight into the heart of the abyss, and there we will meet the peculiar, luminous inhabitants and the slow geological sculptures that shape the seafloor. Keep the sea with you as a companion, steady, curious, and endlessly patient.
Move with the water as we pass fully into the midnight zone. The darkness here is not empty, but dense with small things, each one a careful economy of life. The bathypelagic holds shadows that move with the slow certainty of long habits. Imagine soft, ponderous shapes gliding on a current that feels like a sheet being folded and refolded. Imagine mouths and fins that operate with minimal fuss, designed to catch a rare opportunity and then rest. The mood is steady. The tempo slows not because nothing happens, but because everything that happens is measured and deliberate. Consider the anglerfish, often thought of in dramatic terms, but truly a marvel of adaptation. A female anglerfish carries a bioluminescent lure on a filament in front of her mouth. She uses that tiny light as a careful invitation, attracting curious creatures into the immediate vicinity where a gentle, decisive capture may occur. In some species, the male is much smaller, and rather than live independently, he finds the female and remains close in a kind of permanent companionship. Picture this without alarm. A match struck slowly in the dark to catch a single moth, and then nothing more. The anglerfish's purpose is specialization, to make the most of the rare passing meals. It is a story of efficiency rather than violence, a life that conserves movement and reserves action for the exact moment it is needed. In the same soft theater of the deep, gulper eels and other elongated fish hold large mouths like nets that open wide enough to receive an unexpected parcel of food.
When a piece of marine snow or a wandering creature comes within reach, the fish may take it and then return to stillness. The act is economical. Imagine your hand reaching for a single small treat and then letting it fall away into the unseen. That image is calm and contained. It does not need to startle. Bioluminescence in the bathypelagic can be intricate and private. Some animals produce steady glows, others choreograph blinking patterns. Certain species create long ribbons of glowing mucus or trailing light, not to frighten but to confuse the attention of a pursuer and provide a chance to move away. Some animals flash a bright counterlight to erase their silhouette when seen from below, a subtle trick that allows them to remain unseen against the faint glow above. These behaviors are quiet solutions, elegant ways to save energy and survive in a place where conserving every calorie matters. As you imagine these scenes, let your breath mirror the stillness. Breathe in with the slow, patient intake of a fish that does not waste oxygen. Breathe out while your shoulders relax toward the bed or chair. If your body tightens at a thought, allow it to soften like a muscle releasing tension underwater. The ocean's rhythm here is not abrupt. It is a long metronome with wide intervals. There are objects on the seafloor and in the water column that carry their own small audiences. Consider a fallen piece of wood, a whalebone, or a long-forgotten shell. Each becomes a tiny ecosystem. Bacteria and fungi begin the slow work of breaking down the material. Small crustaceans pick at the surface, worms burrow and make tunnels, and microscopic plants and animals colonize any available niche. The idea of community in the dark is different from what we know at the surface. It is local and patient, a neighborhood that grows inward rather than outward. Think of a city where the inhabitants tend their gardens at night and leave the streets largely empty. That is a comforting, orderly image. As the bathypelagic gives way to the abyssal reaches, the seafloor sometimes flattens into an apparently endless plain. The abyssal plain is a slow, flat tapestry of sediment and tiny life. Here, features are low and stretched. Hills are gentle wrinkles in a vast sheet. The sediments that cover these plains are the archives of eons. Tiny shells, bits of plankton, fragments of plant material, and dust from distant lands all settle, layer upon layer, preserving a long, slow record of the ocean above. Scientists sample these cores and read them like a patient, multilingual diary of climate and life, noticing the faint changes across ages. You need not comprehend those records in detail to feel the comfort of their presence. The world keeps its history carefully and without hurry. On the abyssal plain, life adapts to scarcity by inventing quiet tricks. Some worms extend long, feathery tentacles to sweep nutrient-rich particles from the sediment.
Small crustaceans sift gently through the mud as if searching for a single pearl. There are sea cucumbers and brittle stars with slow, deliberate manners, moving along without dramatic hurry. Their movements are soft. Their existence is one of continual small repair and consumption. Imagine a night gardener tending a vast, slow field under the pale glow of bioluminescent lamps. The image is kind and restorative. Now let us approach places where the darkness is pierced, not by sunlight, but by other kinds of flame. Hydrothermal vents appear on the seafloor like chimneys, built by the Earth's heat where tectonic plates meet, and hot, mineral-rich water rises from beneath the crust. These vents can support communities of life that rely not on sunlight, but on the chemical energy released from the Earth itself. Imagine a warm pocket in a deep, cold night. The temperature near a vent can be astonishing compared to the surrounding water, and yet the contrast is gentle in the way it provides warmth and sustenance to the immediate neighborhood. The chemistry of vent life is called chemosynthesis. Instead of using light to create energy from carbon dioxide and water, as plants do in photosynthesis, chemosynthetic bacteria use chemical reactions, often oxidizing hydrogen sulfide or other reduced chemicals, to produce organic matter. These bacteria are the foundation of vent ecosystems. Tube worms, for example, have no mouth or digestive tract in the way we might expect. They host symbiotic bacteria inside their tissues. The bacteria convert vent chemicals into the nourishment the tube worms need. Picture a forest of pale tubes rising from the blackened rock, each tube worm hosting whole microscopic communities that do their work quietly and without fuss. The relationship is intimate, mutual, and old in ecological terms. Around vents, you will also find dense mats of bacteria, fields of clams, and communities of shrimp and other crustaceans that cluster near the warm plumes. Some plumes, called black smokers, are rich in metal sulfides and look dark where the minerals precipitate. Others, called white smokers, have lighter filamentous deposits. The chimneys themselves form as minerals dissolved in the hot fluids meet cold seawater and precipitate, slowly building up towers over years and decades. These structures can grow and also erode. They are both fragile and resilient, monuments shaped by opposing forces. Think of them as quiet skyscrapers in an unlikely city, each built by slow accretion and chemical gifts. If you imagine approaching a vent site, there is a sense of walking into a small, warm square in the middle of a vast, cold night. The light here often comes from microbes or from the soft bioluminescence of nearby animals. The contrast increases your feeling of calm rather than alarm, a safe hearth in a wide house.
Tube worms cluster like columns. Small crabs pick delicately at bacterial films. Vent mussels filter and host their own microbial partners. The chemistry that supports these communities is not violent, it is simply different, a parallel solution for life to use the resources that are available. We might also notice that vents are not eternal. Over time, chimneys can collapse or move as geology reshapes the seafloor. New vents may open, older ones may quiet, and communities will shift or relocate. This is part of the deep sea's patience. The built forms change slowly, and life tracks these slow shifts. There is no sudden apocalypse in the description, only the long cycle of creation, persistence, and dissolution. In this sense, vents are a lesson in adaptation and in the quiet rearrangement of communities. Beyond vent fields, seafloor geology becomes more rugged. Mid-ocean ridges push up new material as tectonic plates separate. Trenches, where one plate sinks beneath another, form the deepest parts of the ocean. These trenches are the Hadal Zone, named after Hades in ancient myth, but their character is not mythic fear, it is solemnity and depth. The Mariana Trench, the most famous of these, reaches to depths around 11,000 meters. At those depths, sunlight is entirely absent and pressure is intense. Creatures that live there are adapted in surprising ways. Their bodies are often soft and compact, gas-filled spaces are minimized, and their biochemistry resists compression. Life in the trenches is often sparse compared to shallower regions, but where food arrives, a falling carcass, a pulse of marine snow, it becomes a focus of activity. Amphipods and other scavengers gather in numbers when a large mule appears, and snailfish, a group of specially adapted fish, have been observed at great depths, showing more variation than we once imagined. The Hadal realm holds species adapted to extreme pressure, but the image to keep is not of strain but of fit, organisms that belong there by virtue of long evolutionary shaping. In the trenches, time can feel stretched.
Processes that take hours near the surface may take months or years at depth. Particles descend slowly and are consumed methodically. Sediments accumulate and preserve chemical signatures of long-ago climates. If you picture the trenches as deep, very slow wells, you are correct. They are places where the world's stories sink and rest. This is a comforting image for someone trying to sleep, a place where stories gently lie down and wait. In the neighborhood of vents and trenches, the creatures are both familiar and unusual. The vampire squid, a creature with soft webbed membranes and tufted appendages, can appear like a slow dancer, folding and unfolding in the dark. It does not hunt in a predatory frenzy. It gathers particles and mucus to collect food.
Giant isopods, relatives of the familiar pillbug, can be found in deep waters, moving slowly across the sediment, as if on a timeless walk. These creatures have life histories and behaviors that emphasize patience rather than force. We should also meet, in calmer terms, the giant squid. These cephalopods can grow to several meters in body and arm length and live in deep, dark waters far below the surface. They are rarely seen, which adds to their mystique, but they are not monsters. They are large, graceful animals adapted to the open deep. Their long tentacles and massive eyes are tools for detecting what little light or bioluminescence passes their way. To imagine a giant squid is to imagine a large, slow swimmer, elegant and deliberate, moving with the water's motion rather than fighting against it. Return now to the image of marine snow, because it is perhaps the gentlest motif the deep sea offers. Particles drift down in a continuous rain. Some flakes are soft and slow, made of mucus or microbial aggregates. Others are larger, such as the occasional discarded shell or a feather from a seabird. The fall can take days or months, and at the seafloor, these particles are gathered and processed by an army of small creatures and microbes. This cascade of tiny offerings links the surface to the deepest bottom in a patient, ongoing exchange. Hold this image as you let your breath lengthen, a slow, steady rain that needs nothing from you but to be observed. Consider the ocean's soundscape once more. In the deep, the recordings made by hydrophones reveal low-frequency moans, clicks, and creaks that travel far. Whale songs, when they descend into deep water, become slow and elongated. The earth itself sometimes produces a faint, prolonged grumble as tectonic plates adjust and sediments settle. None of these sounds demand panic. They are part of the background hum, the long orchestra that the planet perpetually plays. In your room, you may notice a faint hum from a refrigerator or the small rustle of your own clothing. Let the ocean's deep sounds and your room's soft noises fold together into a single, unintrusive soundscape that carries you toward rest. We have now met several of the deep's peculiar inhabitants in calm detail. Let us pause for a softer gallery of brief vignettes, each meant to soothe. A slow-moving amphipod cloud drifts past a fallen bone. These tiny crustaceans gather like a living dust, shifting and reforming with the currents. Their movement is like a slowly waving field of grass beneath a low wind. A tubeworm forest stands around a vent, the tall white tubes anchored to black rock. If you could stand among them, you would feel a faint warmth on your skin and hear nothing but the subtle bubble of chemical smoke and the soft shuffling of small animals attending the bacterial mats. Their whiteness and height make them look like pillars in a cathedral lit by small internal lanterns. A brood of deep-sea shrimps, clustered near a mineral outcrop, picks persistently at bacterial films. They move like hands working at a long task, patient, focused, and without haste. A ghostly jellyfish drifts by, its bell a translucent lantern that pulses once or twice before fading. It is a slow metronome in the water, each pulse a deliberate beat in a long piece of music. These small scenes add texture to the overall landscape. The deep sea is less an empty void and more a careful, ongoing set of processes and interactions, each one small and vital on its own terms. We should speak briefly and gently about the slow geological features that shape these habitats. Mid-ocean ridges rise where plates diverge, and new rock forms as magma pushes up and cools. Over millions of years, the seafloor ages and moves,
carrying with it the chemical legacy of past climates and volcanic events. Manganese nodules, rounded lumps that sit on the sediment, accrete metals over very long timescales, forming at rates that, compared to human lifespans, are glacial. These nodules are reminders of how the planet's chemistry can create small, solid artifacts given enough time. The plains' subtle textures, the ridges' slow pushing, and the trenches' pull are the long, unhurried choreography of Earth's skin. All this geological and biological slowness has a lesson for rest. You exist within various timescales simultaneously: the immediate rhythm of your breathing, the nightly cycle of sleep, the seasonal changes of your life, and the ocean's far longer cadences. Your night is nested within these larger motions. That thought need not cause insignificance. Rather, it can be comforting. The world around you holds rhythms that are larger and more patient than your day-to-day concerns. Allow that knowledge to be a soft support. It is also worth considering, in a calm, factual way, that much of the deep sea remains unknown. Scientists estimate that a very large proportion of species in the deep ocean are yet to be described. This unknown is not frightening when held as a comfort. There is room within the world for undiscovered beauty. Imagine the deep as a house with many closed rooms, each room quietly waiting to be opened by patient curiosity. The knowledge that the sea still holds secrets can feel protective rather than menacing. It is a reminder that the world is vast and kindly spacious, and that not every question requires immediate answering. Now, gently turn your attention to the chemistry and the small-scale processes that sustain the deep. Microbial mats work very slowly but efficiently, converting falling organic matter into energy that circulates through local food webs. These microbes are unseen laborers. Without their processing, the deep would not recycle nutrients back into usable forms. There is humility in this fact. The grandest processes are often dependent on the smallest actors, each carrying out quiet duties.
Consider how your body depends on similar microscopic helpers, the microbes in your gut and on your skin, and know that such small collaborations are an ordinary and stabilizing part of life. Thermohalion circulation was mentioned earlier as a planetary heartbeat, a slow march of water driven by temperature and salinity differences. To be concrete but calm, cold, salty water tends to sink, while warmer, fresher water stays near the surface, and the resulting movement creates large-scale loops that transport heat and nutrients around the globe over centuries. These currents are enormous and leisurely. They do not hurry, and they do not demand effort from you. They are a background mechanism by which the planet maintains its climate and distributes resources. Let that awareness reduce urgency rather than increase it. The planet's steady motion supports life in broad, reliable ways. If your thoughts wander to worry, imagine them transforming into slow, harmless particles of marine snow, descending into the deep and settling where bacteria will process them. This mental image is practical. Rather than pressing or fighting your thoughts, convert them into part of the scenery that the deep sea will absorb and repurpose. It is a gentle exercise in letting go. As you continue to relax, consider the elements that connect you to the ocean. The salt in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your hemoglobin. These are products of Earth's long cycles, many processed through marine chemistry or formed in ancient seas. The planet's waters have shaped life and the chemistry of your own body. You are not separate from the sea. You are a participant in an ongoing exchange. That connection is reassuring. It ties your breathing to a planetary rhythm in a literal sense and gives a quiet context to your night of rest. Now bring your mind back to a single warm image, a vent chimney glowing faintly in the dark, tube worms swaying around it like silent stalagmites, small crabs moving with small, precise motions, and the long, steady rain of marine snow still falling. In this image, you are not required to move. The scene simply is. You are a witness who is allowed to be still. Your breath becomes slow. Your muscles loosen. The heavy concerns of the day slide into the sedimented book of the planet and are catalogued there like old leaves. Let us end with a brief, calming rehearsal to carry you into sleep. Close your eyes if you have not already, and feel the breath rise in your belly, slow and easy. With each inhale, imagine you draw in the cool, dark water of the deep, which steadies and calms your nervous system. With each exhale, picture a soft particle of thought or worry floating away like a bit of marine snow, drifting down into the abyss and settling into a bed of fine, ancient sediment where it will be quietly processed and forgotten.
Allow the rhythm to continue. Slow inhale, patient pause at the top, long, gentle exhale, and with every cycle, feel the ocean's vastness hold you without expectation. You have traveled through the ocean's layers, the sunlit epipelagic where the world is busy and visible, the mesopelagic twilight where lanterns blink and migrations rise and fall, the bathopelagic midnight where marine snow falls like a lullaby and creatures move with careful economies, the abyssopelagic plain with its patient microbial caretakers and slow geology, and the hadal trenches that descend to depths around 11,000 meters, where life goes on in forms shaped by pressure and time. Along the way, you have met bioluminescent lights and learned that chemosynthesis sustains whole communities, that hydrothermal vents build and erode and host their own warm cities, and that much of this world remains comfortably unknown. If this calm helps you sleep, a small like helps others find this quiet corner of the internet. Only if you wish. There is no obligation, simply an option to share this gentle chamber with others. Now, let the final image be simple and intimate. You floating just above the seafloor, wrapped in a velvet dark that is soft to the touch, lit only by distant, private lanterns. The deep is patient and keeps watch. As you surrender to the slow cadence, remember that you are carried by currents larger than any rush. Give yourself permission to drift. Rest unfolds when you allow the ocean's long breath to become your own. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe to join future gentle explorations, or simply rest now. The sea keeps watch. Good night.